Hey you! Welcome to Selfish Me. I'm Cam, a business psychologist and a proud late bloomer who finally stopped living by everyone else's rules. And this is your space to pause, reconnect, and build a life that feels true to you. Because putting yourself first isn't selfish, it's powerful. Welcome back, everybody. I'm super excited that you managed to join us today because we have extra special episode today due to our guest. And today's guest is Emily. So let me tell you a little bit about Emily. She is a qualified transformational life coach who helps people gently thrive in their lives and careers without burning themselves out in the process. Her work is all about stepping away from the constant hustle and learning how to prioritize your well being and joy, not as a luxury, but as the only sustainable way to work towards the things that truly matter to us. I had the pleasure of working with Emily, and along the way, we became friends, which is the best part of our previous jobs. I would say so. And honestly, she's the voice in my head that reminds me to be kinder to myself, to slow down, and to actually look after my well being when I'm really tempted just to push through and get over with it. So I'm really, really excited to have Emily on Selfish Me today. And welcome. And it's so nice to have you here, Emily.
Oh, Cam, thank you so much. It's such an honour to be here. Yeah, thank you so much for that introduction as well. That was so lovely.
I try to practice that, so I don't miss anything because you're so amazing. It's so hard to capture everything that you mean to me and some how much I have learned from you. So yeah, I hope I did the justice.
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you.
Lovely. So you're all about well-being and gentle thriving, and we are in the end of January, at the point in the year where people still remember their New Year's resolutions, but it's still winter. And I know you have a different approach to winter, and I'll just love to hear what that looks like for you.
Yeah, so for me, I think with winter and as you say, at this time of year, being January, you mentioned New Year's resolutions there, people just constantly I think we get this pressure come 1st of January to just be like, right, I'm going to change so many things about my life. New year, new me.
Yeah.
And for me, it's just the worst possible time of year to be doing that because we've just had Christmas and New Year, and okay, we might have had some time off, but actually, we will have been really busy. Our routines will have been disrupted. We're going to be tired. And on top of that, it's winter. The days are short and dark. You know, we've not got much money left after Christmas. It's really like our energy levels are going to be so much lower. And so for me, winter is actually a real time to kind of to ground yourself and to look after yourself and to really kind of get those well-being basics like down and a priority. And then the goals, the resolutions, they can come later. But for winter, it's really about making sure that we are, yeah, kind of, I would call it hibernation mode because we're mammals, right? So it's like, how do we make sure that we can honor our need to hibernate in winter whilst obviously, still being responsible adults and having jobs and things like that. But yeah, so it's really, I feel like in winter, we've got enough to be contending with without having to kind of set ourselves these New Year's resolutions and kind of going for, big changes as well. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's very true. I stopped doing the New Year's resolutions a few years ago just because I felt like they were actually not my New Year's resolutions. They were whatever was trendy at that time, like running to 5K or 10K, which I've done it and I hate running.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not even a runner, but I've done it because everybody was doing. So I
Yeah.
think when we are based in the office now, like with the hybrid, I think there's a little bit less pressure. But being based in the office, everybody would like, what is your New Year resolution? Like already starting asking maybe like November, December time and January is like, so how you doing? And I just felt like I had to have a New Year resolution, even though it's
Yeah.
actually not part of my goal setting, I would say,
Mm.
as well. And like you said, like the new year, new me, like I like my old self, if I'm being
Yeah.
honest. There's
I
nothing wrong with my
know.
old self.
I know.
I have new.
Exactly, and I saw something online actually the other day that was like, January is just another month that follows December, and I thought that was just so lovely, and I'd so resonate with your point of kind of people asking it. I get it even now, like, people say, like, "Oh, what's your New Year's resolution?" And for me, it just becomes like a wave of noise because not only do you get it from well-intentioned friends and family and colleagues, but also marketing campaigns.
Yeah.
And I feel quite strongly about this because I feel like they really feed off our insecurities of not doing enough or not being enough. And so, all throughout January, even now, as you say, at the end of January, every time I open social media or see an advert on TV or whatever, it's all like, get fit, eat healthier, more protein, more fiber, buy this holiday, like read more, buy this new skincare regime. It's just, and I find that like another reason why resolutions just don't work in January because I mean, hats off to anybody that can actually tune that out and really focus on themselves. I can't. I really struggle. But like last year, I particularly struggled with it because it was just, I knew that there would be this barrage of like New Year's resolutions and I was prepared for it, but I still found myself being like, oh, maybe I do need to, health fitness wise or like change what I'm doing with my, where I live and all that kind of stuff. And it feels overwhelming. And so now I don't make any decisions about what I want from my life or, or anything in January and February. These are kind of warm up months. I let that noise kind of wash away. And then that's when I can start really reflecting and kind of spending that time thinking about actually what is most important to me? What do I want to focus on?
Yeah, I agree with you what you said about like the marketing is feeding in on like us not being enough or expecting more from us. And I think like for me, January, February is like you finding your feet at work because there will be budget, there will be restructuring, there will be projects, there will be so much happening at work. And on top of that, I supposed to do other stuff in my personal life, which are also goals, which started feels like work. It feels
Yeah.
like I have a work to provide for myself, but also work to maintain myself in the way that society wants me to be and like do the 10K runs in the
Yeah.
park or I don't know what else. And then I always feel like I have the least energy in the winter because there's not enough sun. I feel like I'm a solar panel. Like if I don't have enough sun, I just can't do it. And
Yeah.
it's such a vulnerable time because like you're right. After Christmas, we might have a break, but we don't really spend that much time with our families in such a condensed time as well. We had so much food that we feel guilty about it. So therefore
Yeah.
January is like dry January or some kind of diet. And we probably broke because we went out with the gifts and
Yeah.
Christmas tree, all of that. And then you have January where back at work, you go through that, oh, I'm back at work, I'm not spending time with it. Like it's just such a mix of everything. You're absolutely right. I think January is very vulnerable. I feel vulnerable in January. I'm like,
Yeah.
do I want it to work? Like, can I be a lady of leisure every January?
Exactly.
The same thing.
Exactly, and I don't know about you, but something that I see with my clients, and I am guilty of this myself, is like in December, kind of in the run up to Christmas, like, "Oh, I'll deal with that next year. I'll deal with that next year. I'll deal with that next year." And then you come back to work in January and you're like, "Okay," people tend to have kind of a good break over Christmas if they can. They come back and they're like, "Hold on, what's my job? And, oh, I've got all this stuff that I left behind,
Yeah.
and it's the final kind of quarter in the financial year, so we've gotta hit
Yeah.
targets." And that pressure in itself feels really, really big and tough. And then, as you say, on top of that, we're putting pressure on ourselves to completely change our lifestyle or to start a project. And I think there's nothing wrong with kind of saying at that point, oh, I would like to improve my fitness or improve my health or to start a side hustle or whatever that looks like for you, or go traveling more or, you know, do more crafts or whatever that looks like. But I think the pressure we put on ourselves to hit the
Yeah.
ground running and do it like a million miles an hour is so big. And that in itself, as you said, feels like a whole other job. Like you work your 9 to 5, and then you've got your like 5 to 10 or whatever, where you're like, all right, now I've got to go to the gym or I've got to
Mhm.
like figure out my finances, to book holidays, and it's just we are mammals and we don't have as much energy, like physical energy or the mental capacity in winter. And I think we're in a society that pushes productivity and really, ties our value to that. And actually, if I always say it's like pushing a rock up a mountain, it is only ever going to feel really hard to
Yeah,
make those changes at that speed in January and February. You're much better taking it slow, wintering, and then harnessing kind of the energy you get when you get to spring. And so for me, that's when I set my goals and really think about what I want from the year, is kind of when the days are getting longer, the noise is quieting down, and actually you've got that time to really get, you know, introspective and think about what you want from the year.
yeah, absolutely. And I think because of that pressure, if we don't achieve the goals that we set for ourselves, by time of January, February, we feel like a failures. And we
Oh,
just started a year and you already feel like I fail, I haven't done X, Y, Z, you know? And then just like it's just like hanging around somewhere. It's like, oh, I think it's just not a great feeling to start
no.
it a new year, basically.
Yeah, because we again, I see it in my clients all the time, this kind of all or nothing approach.
Yeah.
It's like, well, if I wanna get fit, I've gotta go to the gym 5 times a week. And it's like, well, actually, you don't have to, because then you're setting yourself an impossible standard. So if you don't go 5 times a week, you've failed, as you said, or you feel like you've failed. And actually, that's not necessarily the case. We set ourselves really ambitious targets, which is great, but we're just not honoring what we need as human beings. It's a bit cheesy, but we are human beings and not human doings. And I think we kind of need reminding of that sometimes, especially in winter, where you only have to open, the social media apps, and people are sharing. Oh god, even from mid-December, I saw it. Like, people are sharing the highlights of the previous year and kind of the goals that they've set for January. And it's so easy to get caught up in that hype of like, oh my goodness, I've got to do all of that. And if I'm not doing that, then I am failing. And it's just simply not true. And I think we need to kind of reframe that and kind of reteach ourselves what it means to be human almost.
Yeah, I love that. And you talk about a lot about gentle thriving, what that means to you and what that looks like.
Yeah. So gently thriving is kind of the phrase that I always hold dear to myself, because I believe it is possible to have both. So what I mean by gently thriving is, thriving for me is all about being in an environment where you can be your best self. But it's often kind of synonymous with hustle and kind of thriving and achieving and producing. And for me, I've done it. I've kind of tried that approach, and I ended up burning out. And it's really hard to kind of allow yourself to be like, actually, I'm going to take a more gentle approach to this. And so, what I mean by gently thriving is actually, first and foremost, you're treating yourself as a human being. So, you're making sure that you're looking after your well being, you're prioritizing joy, and really kind of finding those moments. I'm not talking big milestones or anything like that. I'm talking about the little simple pleasures that you can have every single day, and using that to really then fuel this, or create an environment where you can thrive, but thriving in a way that really honors your humanness and being able to kind of do things at your own pace. And yeah, sidestepping, or I guess opting out of the traditional definition of thriving, where it's like, super, like all this hustle and meeting these big milestones and pushing, 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 not letting yourself rest or have any kind of fun or joy until you've hit those things. And for me, gently thriving is this kind of separate approach. And I always see it as like lanes. I'm like, they can be in their lane. I'm going to be in my lane, where I'm just going to go super gently, but I know that I'm doing things that will mean that I can be my best self for myself, for my partner, for my friends, for my colleagues, like for my clients. It's all so important for me that you look after yourself first and foremost, and the rest will come.
Yeah, I love that. Like you always remind me of like that gentle thriving. And I did a workshop, which actually was a program where we did talk about our goals, what we want to achieve it, but then you also say, okay, so but what are you doing for your well-being? What are the pockets of joy? And it looked like a bingo card, at
Yeah.
least. Yeah, right. And I love that because I would go through, okay, this is what I want to achieve. I'm very goal oriented person or task oriented person. Like, just helps me to organize myself. And also, if I write it down, that means it's not in my head, basically. So it just makes it a little bit better for me. But then it like the social, the joy bit aspect will be like the afterthought. Okay, where I'm gonna squeeze it. And I would squeeze it when I'm feeling really tired or agitated or something, like, oh, I didn't do anything for my well-being. So it becomes this task where I have to squeeze it somewhere in between
Yeah.
already busy schedule because I've been trying to over ambitious because I approach my personal goals the same way as I've been trained to approach it at work.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Exactly.
it's that productivity what we talk about. It's like, we are human beings, not human doings, but like we expect like our values at work is measured by how much we achieve and produce and all of that. So it's very easy to have the same measurements to our personal lives as well.
Definitely.
So I really love that. And now I identified I want to do more of the art. So I'm going to a theater actually twice now. And that's already booked for January and for April. So that was already booked there. And I have some other stuff. And that actually is the core. And on top of that, I'm adding, okay, and this is where I'm going to do this and that. And I genuinely do mean what I said in the intro because every time I feel tired, it's like what Emily would say. She's like, you're doing so much. Honestly, don't know how you do it so much. Can you just take it gently? What would, actually, help you to feel more relaxed or, all of those questions. So I'll be like, first of all, I'm going to have a nap.
Yeah.
I cannot have a Sunday without nap. If I don't have a nap on a Sunday, I feel like I'm not ready for my Monday.
Yes.
And I think
Absolutely
naps,
nuts.
yeah, right. And naps are just been assigned to being a child or a teenager. And as adults, like suddenly we don't have naps. Like, why not? There's
I
so much
know.
benefits of sleep for our brain, for our body to cleanse and like to have time to process everything, but we don't give it. And like you've mentioned about social media, I'll be like, I sleep on a 6 hours and this is what I achieve. I was like, if I have 6 hours, do not come close to me. I will
Yeah.
be so angry. You'll be in danger.
I'm exactly the same. The 5 a.m. club, and it's like, yeah, if you get up at 5 a.m., you get so much more done. I'm like, but I will be asleep until like 7 because I need my sleep. And I think it's so interesting. And I'm so happy that you've come to my programs and my workshops. And obviously, it's wonderful having you there. I'm so happy that you've taken that from them as well because that was my biggest learning. When this gently thriving approach, it has been years in the building, and it kind of stems from when I was struggling with burnout in kind of 2019, 2020.
Similar time to mine. Yeah.
Yeah, pandemic didn't help with all of that, right? But yeah, and it was I'd always thought, "Oh, well, I'll prioritize my well-being, or I'll feel more joy when I get to a certain milestone." So when I get to
Yes. As you almost have to earn it, right? You have to earn the moment of like, I can do this, the nice things now, or I can celebrate, but I have to earn it. Like we have to earn the joy, we have to earn the happiness rather
Yeah,
than just take it and like do it now and don't wait for it.
exactly. And the ironic thing is, I thought, once I moved house, or once I got the promotion, or once I delivered the project, or once I hired a team, I would
Yeah.
be able to I'd feel so much more fulfilled, I'd feel so much more joy, I'd be able to have loads of time to look after myself, and it never happened. And it's kind of what you were saying about your schedule and your bingo cards, like, you'll never be able to find time for it.
No.
You need to schedule it first, and it was when I started doing that, when I took my well-being so seriously and started prioritizing the everyday joys, I felt so different in myself. Like, not only physically and mentally and emotionally did I feel more kind of resilient, but I could just have this clarity because I was like, I've just been I've been
Yeah.
on like a treadmill, like finish university, get a job, go through all the motions of promotions and all this kind of stuff. And I suddenly was like, "What? Why am I doing this? I feel like I've been on the wrong treadmill. Like this isn't making me happy." And, I look back and it's quite sad. My whole personality was work.
Oh,
Like,
yeah, identity, absolutely. And then what happens, like, so after my burnout, I wasn't able to work. So I was signed off work for a few months. And I swear to God, I didn't know what to say about myself because I wasn't working and
yeah,
work became such a big part of my identity, almost like the only thing that would identify me. I could identify myself as being this person who delivers, who do, and suddenly I didn't have that. I couldn't even focus on one page of book to read at time. I was like, I'm not even a reader, like I'm nothing. And
yeah,
it just gives you that blank slate, okay, starting, from fresh or from start. But what you said about like that treadmill doesn't have different pace. It almost feels like once we hit the moment of going to university, that's it. You're on that treadmill and it's set on like I don't know whatever number is because I don't use treadmill, but
yeah,
5 is the highest and you are on a 5 and constantly you can't and, like,
yeah.
when it goes so quickly, what it felt like to me, you can't get off
That's it.
because you're gonna get off, you're gonna trip or you're gonna miss this something or you're not gonna achieve the next thing, and you feel like, "Oh, I just can't get off now," and some people say, "I will travel when I retire." I was like, "But that's a very long time."
Yeah,
And they're extending the retirement years every year. I'm like,
yeah,
they're
exactly.
extending that, like that is moving away. Why
Yeah,
would you wait until you will finish something? Why we can have that pockets of joy? So as you said it, like why you don't feel we don't deserve it? Do you think it's something about deserving, earning? What is
I don't know. I do like, genuinely, I think the world that, obviously we're in Britain and, Western Europe, and I just think, like, the way that we have been brought up is that, especially as women, you know, we've been brought up to be like, be good girls, get your grades, like, that's how you get your recognition almost of, like, get a good job, kind of get the job title, get the salary, like, it's almost like a tick list, and it's I always felt like it was never enough, like, there's always something else to reach for, and you know, we get told this lie essentially of when you get all of this, then you'll be successful, and success is like synonymous with happiness, and it's not. Like, and also a big thing for me has been like, well, actually, what does success mean? Because we're told that it's all those things, it's the big house, the car, the fancy holidays, the job title, the salary. But actually, what does it mean to what does success mean to me? And that was a big part of, when I was starting to gently thrive. Big thing was like, well, actually, what do I want to count success as? Like, I almost felt like I wasn't the pilot
yeah,
on my own ship or plane, I felt like I was just driving, I was in somebody else's plane, or somebody had hijacked, a plane and was taking me somewhere. I was like, I don't want to do this. This doesn't make me happy. This doesn't make me fulfilled. And
yeah.
actually, it's kind of getting that control back. And I think it sounds so simple, doesn't it? To be like, well, just make a little bit of time for your well-being and joy. But actually, that is so hard. And it comes back to this idea of all or nothing again. And that's how I felt. I was like, well, I can either be kind of successful in kind of inverted commas, or I can look after my well-being. Like it felt like they were mutually exclusive. Like you couldn't have both. And this, when I was going through it, I kept saying to my partner, let's just leave and go and live in a camper van around
Yeah,
Europe, because you just want that total escape and you don't
yes,
know
wanna
what the
hide.
middle ground is. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's really interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. I had the same, and thank you so much for sharing that. I just want to hide. I was like, I just want to hide until I'm ready to come out, and like I feel again like myself. And what you said about the happiness and the success is quite interesting. I was doing research around well-being, and I came across something called a happiness poverty line. So instead of measuring how successful you are or how much money you earn, is like how satisfied actually you are with your life. And the
Mm,
numbers for UK are not that the great. I think it's 1 in, 10, and I would say, there are actually it's more than 1 in 10. I can't remember now off the top of my head, but there's actually quite a lot of people who might be doing really well in career-wise, but actually if you ask them if they're satisfied with their life, they're like, "No." Right? But on the outside, it looks like they've ticked all the boxes that society wants us to tick. But then if we go a little bit deeper, we actually go do, am I satisfied? I'm like, we know we are
mm.
not. But on the outside, we can look just fine. We might be performing at work, we are in a relationship, we are planning our holidays and stuff like that. And I know I've been there. And like on the outside, it looked like I was ticking the boxes. I got really good
Yeah.
job. I was traveling from that job. But on the inside, it just felt empty. And it was just very bizarre experience. I was like, what I've done and achieved what society told me. And where's my happiness?
Yes.
I just feel so empty on the inside. And I'm like, again, like, is this how it feels? How it's supposed to feel? And I was speaking with my therapist at that time. It's like, I don't really know how adults feel. Like, how I supposed to feel as an adult? Like, is this the adult life when you're doing all these things that is expected of you, but you don't have that happiness? Because I remember as a child being very happy. I had so much stuff that would bring me joy, but as an adult, I wasn't doing any stuff that brings me joy anymore.
Yeah, yeah. Oh my god, that resonates so much, Cam. And it is. I just used to describe myself as feeling like really numb or like disconnected from.
Numb and disconnected. Yes, that's how my therapist would describe me.
Well, I know that's not true as your friend.
Well, not anymore, but back in the day, absolutely
Back in the
numb
day,
and
yeah.
disconnected. It just felt like what's happening to you as you said it.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Um, oh, you said something else. I can't remember what you said.
I mean, there's just a lot. I think we're just not measuring the right things. We're not
That
asking the right questions as well. We're not,
yes,
and even when you're introducing yourself, saying our job titles and stuff like that, I don't
yeah.
ask people about their New Year's resolutions because I don't want to be asked about my New Year's resolution. So I think it's like what we asking, it's just not the right questions about our lives and our happiness and our well-being.
Yeah, totally. And I think it's really interesting, isn't it? Like if when you're introduced to someone, one of the first questions they ask, like, "What do you do?" And it's
Yeah.
always the job. Like
Yeah.
it does. It becomes like your personality. But actually, what you were saying before about that study that you said, where people's kind of when they were rating their kind of happiness levels, um, there is an idea there that actually there is a baseline happiness, and when you get to certain milestones, your happiness might increase
Yeah.
a little bit, but it's only ever temporary, and it comes down to this baseline level of happiness.
Okay.
And so the goal in life should be to raise that baseline
Okay.
through everyday little things rather than when I get that promotion, I'll be happier. When I go on that holiday, I'll be happier. It's like, yeah, you'll be really happy when you get it. But actually, eventually, like it's only temporary. So eventually it will come back down again and you come back to the same baseline. And so what we could be doing is thinking about how do I raise my baseline happiness level? How do I do that? And as you said, like when you were kids, you had so much joy, doing lots of different activities and crafts and seeing friends and just like being silly and having fun and stuff like that. And I just feel like these as adults we can tap into these things, but it's a lot of unlearning of conditioning that we've had, and it's breaking it down, experimenting, trying things that we might enjoy that we've kind of dismissed as things that we would enjoy as well. So it's all these, it's a whole journey of discovery of actually how do I bring up that level of happiness? And for me, it's definitely linked to well-being.
Yeah.
Because if you're feeling numb, if you're feeling disconnected, you're not going to be able to experience those emotions as well.
Love that. I think with the difference between adults and children, like as children, we had that inner pursuit of drive of doing joyful things and we didn't care so much about the outcome. Where now, if we do something, we want to be good at it, we want to produce something of value, and it shouldn't be seen as a silly thing. It should be something that is developing and growing us to achieve the next career or something like that. So we care so much about the outcome. Therefore, we don't actually do lots of stuff or we don't really enjoy it as much because again, it feels like a job, like extra job of doing XYZ. What
Yeah.
did you enjoy doing as a child?
Good question. Something I loved, and I still love as an adult, but being by water. So I grew up in the Middle East. So being by the pool every day, like going to the sea, it was just, for me, that was amazing. But then, yeah, I was part of brownies and guides. And so we play games and go on trips and go and explore new places and just be with friends, even I mean, not saying to do it now, but, I used to put shows on for my parents in, like,
Yes.
in the sitting room, and it
Yeah.
was just you just enjoyed being
Mm,
with your friends, having fun, doing something creative or just, like, silly, and and as I think you're exactly right there, like, when you did it as a child, it wasn't to prove your worth, or it
or
wasn't
impact
to get to.
somebody. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It was just, I wanna I wanna do this because it's fun, and we should absolutely lean into that more, and just think about, what sometimes fun can feel too much pressure. It's like, "Oh my god, I've gotta fun," and
Yeah,
actually I think.
yes, right? Has to be big, has to be fun, has to be glamorous, has to be everything.
Exactly, and so actually I start much, much kind of small. I'm like, "What's gonna feel good? Like, today, what can I do that's gonna feel good?" And it might be connecting with a friend, or it might be journaling, or it might be reading, or it might be watching, the new Bridgerton series, or,
I just messaged my mom's like, "They are out, mom."
"It's out today." Exactly. So, like, and I think it's It's those little micro steps. I talk a lot about taking small steps, those mini things without any pressure, without any expectation, that you can just focus on day to day or week to week. And it helps you to kind of tune into that more playful, that more kind of feel good element of life. And as you said, like, it doesn't have to be things. It doesn't have to be, oh my God, I've got to go on a 5-star holiday. It's like, well, actually, I'm gonna cook my favorite dinner, or I'm gonna light a candle whilst I'm watching TV, or I'm gonna play a song that I love to, sing along and dance along to. And it's those little things that can just start moving the dial to experiencing more joy, and it's good for your well-being, like, it's good for your soul, like, yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Uh, well, I think I think it's bringing that inner child in us. They say that we have, what is it, inner child, a parent, and an adult in us. And I
Mm,
think we switching between parent and an adult quite
mm,
a lot, but we forget about the inner child. So one thing, the best advice I was given when I had burnout and panic attacks was by a therapist, and she said, "Imagine you have a little you, and ask her what she wants to do today, or tell her what is going to happen today so she can prepare." So remember, my work office would trigger my panic attacks. So when I was going to office, I would be like, "Okay, come, we're gonna go to the office today. It's gonna be noisy on the underground, but we're gonna get a hot chocolate at Starbucks at Waterloo, and then we're gonna walk the rest of it. Then we're gonna get to the office. We're gonna say hi to the person who's at the reception, and we're gonna find a quiet corner and stuff like that. And you know what? If it gets too much, we're just gonna leave." And
yeah,
I just giving myself the permission, but also like letting myself know the inner child in me, and I'll just have a conversation with myself, which
yeah.
might sound crazy to somebody over there, but actually we have conversations with other. Why wouldn't you have a conversation with yourself and check in with yourself?
Totally, totally that. And actually, I think that's such a powerful tool. I don't think it's crazy at all. I think it's actually really, really powerful. And one of the big things that I talk about with my clients is showing yourself kindness and showing yourself compassion and giving yourself the permission slip. And I think absolutely, if you're feeling anxious, if you're feeling overwhelmed, if you're ready to like throw the towel in with your job and go like I was and like go and live in a camper van in Europe, talking to like, what do you need? Like, treating yourself like a child almost to really get you to the basic levels of like, actually,
Yeah.
I just need sleep,
Yeah.
or I need to feel safe, or I need somebody to say it's okay. And you can be that person for yourself. But yeah, 100%. I had the same with my therapist. It was like, well, what does little Emily, like, what would you do for little Emily? And I'm like,
Yeah,
oh yeah, like, and it's so powerful. It is so powerful. So yeah, definitely a good approach to have for sure.
I love that. Um, we are coming to the end of our time together. I was just wondering if there are any tips or any things that you would like to share with our listeners who are, well, January, February time, they feel like, oh my gosh, I set those big goals. I am behind them. I feel like a failure, or they're just like feeling a little bit low. What they can do to boost
Yeah.
that level of happiness for themselves.
Yeah. Well, first of all, just what we were talking about, showing yourself compassion and kindness and just acknowledging the fact that you are human and that it is the middle of winter and it's okay if you haven't done your New Year's resolutions. The fact that you've kind of got an idea of what you want from the year, that's a good thing. It's only kind of January, February, you've got so much time to do it. The first thing I would really encourage kind of listeners to think about is making sure that they're getting rest. Because when we try and push ourselves forward, if we're not well rested, it's only going to end in feeling exhausted, frustrated, and you're going to be in this cycle. So the first thing I always say is, are you getting the rest that you need? And I talk a lot about the 7 different types of rests.
Yes, you do.
Yeah, and so I've actually got a free resource on my website. Maybe we could.
We will share that in the notes.
Perfect. Yeah. Which basically helps people kind of do a bit of an audit of
Mhm.
the type of rest or the 7 different types of rest and seeing if there's an area where actually they might not be getting rest. So, we often think about rest as sleeping and or napping, but actually, there's physical, mental, emotional, sensory rest, like there's creative rest. There's so many different types of rest, and we need all of those to make sure that we can thrive. So that's the first thing that I always say to people. And I think, especially at this time of year where we can be feeling frustrated with ourselves if we've set New Year's resolutions. And then, next month or kind of in March, when spring arrives, it's like, right, well, spring's here. So now let's go. And it's like, well, yeah, but we've just gone through winter. So you still need to take it slow. So I think, yeah, making sure that being kind to themselves, being compassionate, making sure they're getting the right type of rest and scheduling that in because they won't be able to find time for it otherwise. And then starting slow. When spring does come along, like if they've got an idea of what you want to do for this year, give yourself permission to break it down into really small steps. And so you can gently kind of build momentum. You don't have to do it all straight away. Like you're coming out of hibernation mode. So you're allowed to take it really slowly. And I promise you, those slow steps build up to big momentum because that's how I've turned my life around in the last kind of 6 years or so. So it's always focusing on those small steps. So yeah, those would
Love
be my
those. Absolutely love those. So, dear listeners, this is a reminder life is not a sprint, it's a marathon. So, just take it slowly. You have time and don't allow the outside noise to overwhelm you and lose the inner voice that is actually telling you what you need. And my tip for you will be go back in time and think about it. What did you enjoy doing as a child? And maybe bring just one thing that really made you smile and brought happiness to your life. All right. Well, thank you so much to Emily for being our first guest on Selfish Me podcast. We will add the notes and the resources Emily has shared and also more information about Emily if you want to follow her. She has a lovely Instagram with lots of practical tips that will not make you feel worse, it will make you feel way better about looking after yourself. All right. Thank you. Thank you so much for listening. It honestly means the world to me. If something from today's chat made you smile, think, or feel seen, share it. That's how our Selfish Me community grows. This podcast is about real voices and reminding each other that we are not alone. We are all figuring out how to do life our way, and you are doing better than you think.